Now let's turn to the political situation in Rivers State. The Court of Appeal sitting in Abuja has refused to reverse the removal of Martin Amaewhule and 24 others as members of the Rivers State House of Assembly. In a ruling, the Appellate Court said given a verdict reversing the decision of a federal high court which declared their seats vacant will amount to prejudging the appeal currently before it. Delivering its ruling, which was done virtually, a three-member panel led by Justice Jimi Bada held that setting aside the order delivered by the Rivers State High Court, which expelled Mr Amaewhule and 24 others, will be tantamount to determining the issues on appeal at the interlocutory state. All parties are therefore ordered to maintain the present status quo and halt hostilities until the determination of the appeal before the court. The court has now fixed 20th of June for the hearing of the appeal by Mr Amaewhule and others, which is about wanting to get back their seats as members of the Rivers State House of Assembly. For more on this development, lawyer and rights activist Amaewhule joins me via Zoom from Lagos, and Publicity Secretary, APC Rivers State Caretaker Committee, Chibike Kinga, joins me via Zoom from Rivers State. Gentlemen, good to have you on the program.
Thank you for having me.
Let's begin with you, Mr. Amaewhule. The Court of Appeal held that, okay, I understand that Mr. Amaewhule isn't there just yet, so let's start with you, Mr. Ikenga. You're on ground in Rivers State and you've been monitoring happenings there. What is your reaction to the ruling of the Court of Appeal, which today refused to reverse the sack or removal now of Martin Amaewhule and others as members of the Rivers State House of Assembly?
Okay, once again, thank you for having me. Thank you for listeners. Now, I don't agree with you with the use of the word refused because it's still an ongoing process. If you, like you did read in your news, you said that the Court of Appeal did ask that they should maintain status quo. And then the Court of Appeal said they should refrain from hostilities pending the determination of the suits. So it's an ongoing process. Nothing has gone wrong. Rather, what Court of Appeal has done is that it has frozen all activities of the courts below, pending the determination of the appeal before any other thing can happen. So that's what it is. And we're all here, everywhere is calm. Then we expect that as events unfold from the Court of Appeal, they will take a decision one way or the other, and then we know where everyone stands in Rivers State.
All right. And we know that just on Monday, the Rivers State High Court ruled on, a matter that still has to do with this, and it's about membership of the House. And it said, it reported to have said that Martin Amaewhule and 26 others are actually members of the PDP. You did mention that your party's leadership was studying that and would react to it in due course. What's your position on that matter?
Yeah, our position hasn't changed much other than the fact that the court decision, the court ruling, the court judgment from Justice Bada is what it is. And up until it is appealed and then a reversal is made, that is what it is. And as a party, we will obey it. We will agree with the State High Court, the rulings and judgment of Justice Bada, that members of the Rivers State House of Assembly, particularly the Speaker and his members represented by Martin Amaewhule and 24 or 25 others, are still members of the PDP by virtue of the fact that they have no facts to substantiate the fact that they have actually left the APC. If that's the law, we agree with them.
But then you know that the Rivers State Commissioner for Justice and Attorney General, Dagogo Iboroma SAN, actually refuted reports circulating that what the court did was to affirm Mr. Amaewhule and others are members of the PDP. He said that rather the suit did not seek to declare their seats vacant, and that what happened was that the case was dismissed due to lack of local standi and jurisdiction, as well as abuse of court process, which robbed the trial court of the jurisdiction to adjudicate that matter. What is your reaction to the position of the Attorney General?
Well, I don't know whom you refer to as Attorney General, because his position is also part of what is in contention, through the processes through which he's claiming he has emerged as Attorney General or whatever. He's still in contention. I don't recognize him as such. But be that as it may, I want to say that he, Iborama SAN, cannot interpret for us what the position of the court is. It is a court or the higher court, like Court of Appeal or the Supreme Court, that will interpret the judgment of the High Court, and not for Iborama SAN to say that this is what the court said and this is not what the court said. No, it doesn't have such powers to interpreting for us what the judgment of the court is all about.
But for the Court of Appeal to have now ruled today, which was the first point we actually raised, the fact that Martin Amaewhule and other parties in the suit, as a matter of fact, should cease hostilities and maintain status quo. Do you still dispute the fact that Dagogo Iboroma SAN is Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice in Rivers State?
No, I am saying, I do not say he is not qualified. I'm saying that his position is part of what is before the court, because he was not presented to Martin Amaewhule-led House of Assembly and members, rather to the pro-government three-man committee led by Okojombo. So we cannot say for certainty that he occupies the office he claims until when the Court of Appeal and finally the Supreme Court says so. But for now, his position is still in contention, just like that of the Okojombo-led group and all that.
But then if what the Court of Appeal has said is that parties should cease hostilities and should maintain status quo, and at that point it was deciding on whether or not Martin Amaewhule should regain his seat alongside other people, don't you think then that it does seem that the five-member House seems to be the team that is working, the team that is recognized as it stands?
No, I don't agree. I don't think so, because the court also did say that no one should do anything that will tamper with the rest. So like I said, I used in my opening statement, I said the entire thing is frozen pending the determination of the suit before the Court of Appeal. So nobody can claim clearly that everything that was the decision that we are taking today is in our interest or protects our interest much more. But whether you like it or not, the Court of Appeal has not taken a final stand on all the issues. And up until when they do so, nobody can claim seriously that we have won.
Well, indeed, the court might not have taken a final stance, but the people of Rivers State need to enjoy the dividend of democracy, and they need the lawmakers they have voted for to actually go about the business of lawmaking, which would make life better for them. So what do you say? How do we resolve this ongoing impasse? Is it the legal route? Is it the political route? Or what is the way forward?
Well, whenever there is a crisis, you find out that there are so many ways and methods through which this crisis can be resolved. It can be a political solution, like the president did intervene, and the governor and his team decided to look the other way and then kick against all the procedures put together through the presidential proclamation for peace in Rivers State by the president. And now they kickstarted another round of crisis that had led to where we are presently. So I think that Rivers people yearn for good governance, and then good governance, the people must be properly represented through their representatives at the House of Assembly. And in this case, the House of Assembly that was instituted in 2023 after the elections. So if that is the situation, we will need clear separation of powers. The executive should work on their own, interdependent of executive, the legislature and the judiciary. So also the legislature should be interdependent of the other arms and then judiciary as well. Everybody concentrating clearly on your constitutional mandate. legislature making the laws, executive trying to implement the laws. And when there's crisis like we have presently, the judiciary will intervene and adjudicate. But in a situation where the executive's high-handedness is wanting to intimidate the other arms of government, is what has led to this crisis. And I don't think that the people deserve this. I believe that the arms of government should cooperate to ensure that there is good governance, transparency, and accountability. Of course, ultimately leading to the provision of goods and services that improve the lives of the people of Rivers State.
And getting the solution is very urgent and very important. And you spoke about the intervention of Mr. President some time ago. Do you think that the president should again step into, the fray?
I'm too small, too little to advise the president where I am now, until when I'm given such a position to be able to advise the president. But I was part of that meeting where the president midwifed the peace. If the governor believed that peace was very necessary for development, I think that whatever it was, the governor was supposed to look at every member of Rivers State, every citizen, whether you are an indigene or you reside here, as one, and they needed to show leadership, needed to be state-manly. There are so many things that you would not like, but you take those decisions in the larger interest of the people. But at the state where we are, the governor was considering his own personal political interest far and above that of the entire state. That's why we're in this crisis.
Well, Mr. King, I will take a moment, and then when we come back, we'll continue the conversation. Please stay with us. Before we went on that break, you were saying something about the governor, Siminala Ifubara, thinking only about himself. Remember the governor in May did mention that he did not begin act.
Yeah, what I mean clearly is that as a governor of Rivers State, there are decisions, no matter how painful they are, that will guarantee peace and progress of your state, that will be against your own personal views and interests. You take those hard decisions in the larger interest of the people. That's what I mean. So I believe that the president, having intervened in that through the presidential proclamation for peace, that the governor was supposed to go all out to ensure compliance, and today peace would have returned in Rivers State. Because the last straw that broke the camel's back was that part of that presidential proclamation of peace, the item was that he should present the budget to a properly constituted house under Right Honorable Martin Amaewhule as the speaker. But the governor refused to do so. So refusing to do so, he went ahead, started spending our funds without proper legislation to covering it through the budget. And that's part of the crisis that had first started up to this moment. So as a leader, I want to say this, I stand to be corrected, that when you hold that office, the office of governor or president at that level, you must take decisions that will ensure happiness of the greatest number of persons in the society, and not what will placate your own personal political interests. Otherwise, you run into crisis, and that's where we are. So when you look at Jeremy Bentham and J. Smith and a few other utilitarians who advocated this, they said for every public servant, for anybody who is a decision maker, one of the things you must consider in your decision making is the fact that that decision you're making should bring greater or largest happiness of the greatest number of people at the time you are doing it. And anything short of that is something that is totally uncalled for.
All right. And when you talk about compliance, would you say the Martin Amaewhule-led assembly was actually complying with that peace deal when they vetoed, the governor?
Okay, veto is provided for in the Constitution. The Martin Amaewhule-led House of Assembly complied completely. The cause of this challenge was that the governor who went to meet the president and asked him to intervene felt that the House of Assembly under Martin Amaewhule was about to impeach him. And the president insisted that they must drop that impeachment. Up till as we speak today, that impeachment had not resurfaced from the House of Assembly. So that is the truth.
So is the issue of impeachment, impeachment threat, is that meant to call the governor to order? Or, is impeachment meant to be a threat, or are the lawmakers meant to act based on what is on ground? Because now it does appear like they're trying to hold him to ransom and tell him, you either do this or we'll take you out of the system.
If the governor, like he has been, in breach of the constitutional provisions, that's enough grounds for impeachment. You know that. That's the truth. It's not that anybody is strengthening anybody. The governor is spending money, reverse funds, without proper appropriation, without proper legislation that cover that back that up. That is one of the things that can lead to impeachment. The governor is involved in divisive rhetoric, trying to play his ethnic group against the others. That is impeachable. And then the governor is not performing. In 1 year, the governor cannot tell us. You admitted it yourself when he said he only started becoming governor after 4 months or 2 months. When he has spent 1 year in office, these are things that are very embarrassing to hear from a governor who had been sworn in like they swore in other governors of his, other colleagues of his, the same day.
Remember, Mr. Ikenga, that what the governor was saying is that, he was being distracted. He was being distracted and was not being allowed to govern the way that he actually should. And he only appeared to take over the reins sometime in February this year. And he has reeled out his achievement. He's spoken about having to inaugurate projects, having to lay the foundation stone of different projects. Would you still say, he isn't delivering to his people?
No, we did say clearly that the governor had become very distracted by his own making. And the governor came up to say that he's not distracted, that he's on course. And then when it was 1 year, we reeled out his failures. And then the governor turned around to say, no, that he was distracted. That's one. And then two, when you say the governor has come to flag off projects, flagging off projects does not mean completion of projects. We only look at projects when they are completed. The fact that under pump and pageantry, you go and mention you are going to construct this, you are going to do this, and you haven't done them. Those things will not come for you until such a time that you have completed them. And then if they are properly completed qualitatively, you'll be applauded as well. But there must be a comparison all the time. Comparatively, you look at his own performance, vis-a-vis that of the performance of his colleagues, and then the funds at the disposal of the state versus the other state. So these are some of the challenges that we have to look into when assessing the governor with his colleagues.
And earlier we were talking about the budget. Remember that there is that 5-member house, that actually exists parallel with the Martin Amaewhule, a 27-member house, which is working alongside the governor to deliver this dividend of democracy that you have spoken about.
Well, I don't know where you got your statistics of 5 members and 27. When you add 5 members to 27, it will be 32. And then one of our assembly members had already died. They have a Lolo from Ogoni. So I don't know how they have 5 plus 4 when someone had passed on. So that's not a proper statistic. That's not a correct one. But what I'm telling you is that, are you justifying the fact that in a 32-member state assembly, who represents their constituencies and their constituents, out of 32, 3 will be good enough to take decisions on behalf of the rest constituents? That's not right. And that is the issue.
And when the larger population say they are no longer, part of the political party which brought them in, they've defected, I know that the courts, did say something about that really, but then when it's over there on television, on radio, on social media, that they've left the party, do you suggest that they should still maintain their seat, considering that they said they left the party which brought them in without any chaos, any crisis in that party, which is what the Constitution provides for?
I think that the Constitution in Section 109 did provide the grounds upon which any defection can be sustained. Defection or cross-carpeting are democratic tenets, they are democratic principles. that are enshrined in the Constitution, but our Constitution gave conditions. Now the question is, those conditions were then met by these House of Assembly members. Those conditions were then prevalent that enabled them to move. And the movement they did, or they plan to do, or they have done, as the case may be, have then met all the conditions that are necessary to leaving their party where they sought their mandate and got it, to the new party where they intend to move to. So these are issues that are subject to determination at the court. So the courts will let us know all of that.
All right then. Publicity Secretary, APC Rivers State Caretaker Committee, Chibuike Kenga. Thank you for talking to us on the program.
My pleasure always. God bless you.
That's our program today. Watch a